Also, on of our Stanley Cup coverage last year, Joe Louis Arena, Detroit, Michigan, where the 7-time champion Red Wings, #1 team in the NHL this year, begin their challenge against the Winnipeg Jets this evening in the Motor City. The only thing woozier than the Octopi tonight will be our cameraman. Watch what this camera can do as we welcome you to the broadcast center in Toronto. This is the fulcrum for 2 shows this evening. One of our crews has been dispatched to the United Center in Chicago. The Hawks and the Flames do battle in roughly 1 hour, but most of Canada is together to see the Winnipeg Jets of Detroit. Your chance to see the Wings begin their roll to possibly the '96 Cup or witness the greatest upset in Stanley Cup history, because these teams were, after all, 53 points apart in the regular season. As Don Cherry said last night, if you were guilty going in, felt you had a bad year, you were anxious. If you were the top team, you're extremely nervous about this evening, and that's what it is for Scotty Bowman. Did I also mention that 19 years ago tonight, the fastest goal ever from the start of a game, Don Kozak of the LA Kings scored 6 seconds into a game against the Boston Bruins. Had to have them fired up, Grapes, but that's the point. Detroit wants a good start this evening to get the crowd rolling, and in fairness to Don, Bruins won the series and did go to the Stanley Cup final that year. So it's the Detroit Red Wings. Scotty Bowman goes into his 49th playoff series tonight, hosting the Winnipeg Jets with those vicious players like Tkachuk and Manson to set it up. There's Don Whitman and Brian Hayward. Gentlemen.
Thank you, Ron. Hi, everybody. There are 15 other teams in a quest for Stanley Cup glory. Brian, the 16th team, the one that resides right here at the Joe Louis Arena, considers it to be an assignment.
Oh, no question about that. You get the feeling that if Detroit doesn't win, there's going to be an awful lot of unhappy people around here, but they do have reason to fear the Winnipeg Jets. Number one, they've got a goalkeeper who has shown that he has the type of ability that he can steal a big game. As well, it's a club that has done a pretty good job over the course of the past couple of weeks protecting a lead. I think that's the key to this series. If the Winnipeg Jets can cut down on those neutral zone turnovers, we could be in for a real good one.
Well, the Winnipeg Jets, the only team this year in the National Hockey League to score 2 victories over the Detroit Red Wings, the most recent right here at Joe Lou back on January the 8th. Ron?
Thanks very much, Whit. As usual, this year we'll be getting complimentary wings at Gretzky's Restaurant in Toronto. Kelly Rudy's here, and Kelly, thanks very much for being here. Really delighted.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited again.
Scotty Bowman was pretty close to the vest about Vernon versus Osgood. He's chosen the youngster Chris Osgood. What do you think of that?
Well, I think that's a great choice, and who am I to tell him with 1,000 career victories? But Osgood needs to gain that experience, and what a perfect opportunity playing the first round, and after you go 39-6 in the regular season, I don't think they have to worry about him.
And they can always come back with Mike. What do you think of Nikolai Habibulin?
Well, I'm really excited for Habibulin because this is another perfect opportunity on the other side of the coin for Habibulin, because now he has no pressure. You know what pressure is when you're 23 and you've never played a career game in the playoffs before and you're the favorite. That's pressure, because then you can only fail. But this way, go out there, have fun, and experience the playoffs. Remember Chris Osgood a couple of years ago against San Jose in the dressing room. I'm so sorry, in tears, and it wasn't his fault. 3-2 game. Now, Winnipeg, if they're to try and do anything against Detroit, what do you think might be a key? Well, it's interesting because we played there the second to last game in the regular season. It was funny because I opened up the paper and their players were commenting that they can't take bad penalties against us because they needed that win to lock up a playoff position. Funny thing is, they went out in that game that I thought they took some bad penalties, and you can't do that against Detroit. Oh, their power play would eat you up. And yet, Tkachuk and Manson, I mentioned those 2 tough guys. If you were to ever bang up Fedorov or one of these guys, get them off their game, think it could happen? Well, I like Winnipeg. I like their team. I like their talented players. The only problem is they're facing Detroit, and I just don't see them being beaten. In fact, you told me off the record, which is now on the record, you can't see them losing more than 3 games. That's right. Scott Oak is at Joe Louis Arena this evening. He'll be our host for the coverage of the game itself and has some intriguing numbers about Detroit. Scott.
Ron, all along the way in their incredible season, the Wings dismissed their accomplishments, preferring instead to focus on the Stanley Cup. Numbers are huge in the postseason, and the Wings can find motivation in several of them. This may look like a winning lottery combination, but there's a story behind each of those figures. How about 55? The last year the Wings won the Cup, their 4th in 6 years. They were a team of destiny then. They may be again. There's the number 40. Last year, the Wings had a chance to end a 40-year drought. They stormed to the final only to go out in 4 straight against New Jersey, and that still stings, in fact, marked the start of the current mission. 62, the record for wins in a single season. The Wings don't think much of it now, but it's worth noting the last team that managed 60 victories won the Stanley Cup, the 1977 Canadiens.
You have to win 16 hockey games in the playoffs if you're going to be winning the Stanley Cup, and you can't win them all in the first night. You can't lose them all as well, but it's much different because the opposition's a lot better during the playoffs. You've eliminated teams that couldn't put it together during the season, and of course, I think each game goes on, you get a different challenge.
As Scotty Bowman says, 16 is significant. That's how many victories are required to complete the mission. 16, 3-1. That's Detroit's record over the last 20 games of the season, by which time they had long since wrapped up first, but clearly did not let up. So numbers like these, combined with the talent of the Wings, make them favorites, but we note Winnipeg and Detroit are 0-0 to start the playoffs. Wings are in a fine state of health. They are missing Dino Ciccarelli due to a suspension, and the Jets are healthy again with the return of Alexei Zhamnov from a back injury that sidelined him since March 22nd. Ron, back to you.
Thank you, Scott. It's game one of the Western quarterfinal series, the Winnipeg Jets at Detroit Red Wings, and that's next as the tradition continues on Molson Hockey Night in Canada on CBC.
Once again, the Red Wings are playing to 103% capacity here at Joe Louis Arena. No surprise about the Winnipeg starting goaltender. Nikolai Khabibulin was 6 games over 500 on a team that was 4 games under 500. Scotty Bowman had the media guessing all day yesterday, right until this morning, about his starting goaltender. He gave the assignment to Chris Osgood. He won 39 games this year, appeared in 50. And the referee, Andy Van Hellemond, in his 25th year of officiating. This is the 22nd year of playoff assignments for the Winnipeg native.
Going to be very interesting. The refereeing will be a huge factor in this series. The Red Wings have been almost begging the refs to really cut down on those obstruction fouls.
From the face-off, the puck is dumped down the ice. All Coffey goes back after it, tried to move it up along the boards. Puck loose in the Detroit zone. One thing Winnipeg wanted to do was try and be aggressive with their forechecking in this game and try and prevent those neutral zone turnovers. Here's a pass on the left side for Taylor. Taylor bumped in against the boards by Dallas Drake. Continues on, gets it back of the net. Trying to throw it out front. McCarty takes it from him. McCarty with a wraparound try. That's steered to the corner. Craig Muni is checked in against the boards. Craig Janney fires it out to neutral territory.
Kind of interesting right off the bat. Scotty Bowman juggles his line so that Darren McCarty lines up against Keith Tkachuk. That's the matchup that Bowman's looking for.
Muni takes Yzerman in against the boards. Fedorov gets the loose puck. Trying to get into position. Looks back to the point. Gets it over to Konstantinov. Pass right through the crease, and Yzerman failed to convert. Long lead pass is too far for Eastwood. It slides all the way down the ice, picked up there by the Jets as the icing is waved off. Puck loose in the Red Wing zone. Kozlov had it picked off. This line for the Jets. Eastwood out there with Darren Shannon, and Shane Doan has done a pretty good job of cycling the puck down deep. Now the puck comes back to the point. Konstantinov trying to work his way in, feeds it out into the slot area. Nobody there, but back at the point, picked up by Larionov. The Wings doing a good job of moving the puck in the Winnipeg zone. It seems whenever they're on offense, all 5 players are on the move, and there's going to be a penalty call here against the Winnipeg Jets, something the Jets wanted to avoid, giving up an early power play opportunity.
Well, Slava Kozlov is just so slippery whenever he's handling that puck. At that time, Teppo Numminen caught himself reaching for the puck, and instead he ended up taking the legs right out from underneath Kozlov. Here's a look at the moves by Kozlov. And there's Numminen upending him. Don't want to put the Red Wings on the power play, the second best power play unit in the National Hockey League over the course of the regular season.
Kozlov this year with 36 goals, the same as Steve Yzerman. They rank number 2 on Red Wings scoring behind Fedorov, who had 39. It's amazing. The Red Wings had so much success as a team, but their top point getter ranked number 10 in the National Hockey League, and that's Fedorov.
Well, the key word here in Detroit, of course, is balance. They get production from really their top 3 lines, and certainly we talked about it before the game, Don. No other team in the National Hockey League has 3 defensemen like the Red Wings who enjoy jumping into the offensive scheme. We've already seen a couple samples of that from Vladimir Konstantinov early on.
A tripping call against Teppo Numminen at 1:50 of the opening period. Yzerman along the boards trying to free it. He's getting some help from Primo. Muni is in there battling with him. Muni tries to move it around to the other side. Stapleton goes there to cut it off. He and Primo fight along the boards. This is a bit of a mismatch in size. It finally comes loose to Muni, and Muni gets some help from Olczyk in redirecting the puck down the ice.
Whenever the Wings have Primo out there on the power play unit, the big guy is just going to set up in front of Nikolai Khabibulin, and the power play looks for plays back of the blue line. Lots of point shots whenever Primo's in front screening the goalkeeper.
Well, they are going to miss Dino Ciccarelli on the power play. He ranks number 3 all-time in the postseason in power play goals, and he will miss the first 2 games as the result of the suspension. Mishandled in front of the net by Osgood. He very nearly gave it away to Darren Shannon. He almost appeared to be playing that a little too casually.
Well, the nerves, that's no question. That's why Osgood mishandled that puck. An awful lot of pressure on the youngster. He has not had any playoff success. He's been a tremendous story in the regular season. And of course, the goalkeeper wants to send a message to his teammates early on that he handles that puck cleanly.
Fedorov attempted to go coast to coast at center ice. Dallas Drake tried to check him and lost both his stick and a glove. Dallas Drake went to the bench, and he was relieved on the penalty killing unit with 30 seconds remaining in the sentence to Newman. Larionov takes the lead pass. Got around Manson, but Manson had some help, and the puck was flipped down the ice with only 18 seconds remaining on the power play. So far, the Jets have done a pretty good job of killing off this initial penalty to Teppo Numminen. Here's Kozlov in across the line. Drake breaks up, flips it down the ice. Kachuk racing after it, but Osgood comes way out of the net to clear it to center ice. Back come the Red Wings. The Winnipeg penalty is over. There's the long shot deflected by Khabibulin. Kozlov wound up and let a pretty good blast go. The Winnipeg Jets dump it out to center ice.
You know, there's already been some good sequences for the Jets in the defensive part of the hockey game. Dave Manson with a huge open ice hit. You said Winnipeg wants to be aggressive and stay within the rules. Certainly, Manson is one of those guys that I'm sure Winnipeg is a little bit concerned about. He has that penchant for taking bad penalties.
15:43 remaining in the opening period. Lidstrom moves it up along the boards to Taylor. Taylor takes a hit at the blue line. The puck picked up by Newman, and he drives it back in. The Winnipeg Jets wanting to avoid the neutral zone turnovers that proved so costly in their final game of regular season play against the Anaheim Mighty Ducks. Jamnov back in the lineup for the first time since the 21st of March. He could be a key for the Winnipeg Jets on the power play. And here at the Joe Louis Arena, the Red Wings have been very stingy when other teams have had the man advantage, only giving up 14 power play goals.
Should point out, of those 14, 6 have come from the Winnipeg Jets. So the Jets have had some success here at Joe Louis in the special team department.
Kirk Maltby flips it in high. Manson is back, almost mishandled against the forechecking of Primo. Now he feeds it ahead to the rookie Shane Doan. One of 4 players on the Winnipeg roster with no playoff experience. Paul Coffey has it back behind his own net. 155 playoff games for Paul Coffey. Coffey tried to feed it across to Johnson. It went off his skate. He has to circle back to pick it up. Coffey will try and set it up again. This time he flips it high into Winnipeg territory. Tverdovsky taken in against the boards by Brown. Eastwood was in there to help out, and the Jets start away. Tverdovsky, a great skater in the slot area. His shot is blocked. He goes into the corner after it. Plays it back to the net for Shannon. Shannon working along the boards, having problems there with Rouse. Doan comes in to help out. The puck is kicked free into the corner, picked up there by Primo, and the Wings start back. Coffey jumps up into the play. Johnson goes to the front of the net. Coffey couldn't get to him. Now tries to center, and it's intercepted by Doan and dumped down the ice.
The Jets doing a terrific job of really collapsing back into the defensive zone. All 5 jerseys, blue jerseys that time, really take away the skating room from the Red Wings once they hit that Winnipeg blue line.
Yzerman controlling in the Winnipeg zone, plays it back at the net. Along the boards, Konstantinov from the point, kept it onside. Finlay plays it back to the other point to Newman. Newman got it out to center ice. And the Jets start back. Drake dumps it down into the corner. Danny was bothered as he tried to race in after it, and the Red Wings pick it up. They break away. Draper Feeds it ahead to McCarty. His shot off a stick up high into the crowd. 13:04 remaining in a still scoreless opening period. After spending some time talking to Scotty Bowman about goaltending, every time you see a giveaway like Jim Carey, I'm reminded of a comment by Scotty. He said 2 things when you go out to play the puck. Make sure you play it. Secondly, make sure you know how you're going to get back to the net.
Well, the coaches all want their goalkeepers more involved to make things or make life easier for the defenseman. It only becomes a concern when they mess up. Like anything else, I suppose.
Fedorov redirects it into the Winnipeg zone. Habby Bullen had a bit of a problem with the bouncing puck. Rouse keeps it onside. The Jets trying to get it out of there. Kept in at the point. Larionov. Crisp passing by the Red Wings. Here's Larionov moving in, a shot at a sharp angle, and Habby Bullen reacted to that one. Excellent puck movement by the Fab Five of the Detroit Red Wings. That's what they refer to the 5 Russian players as, a 5-man unit.
I talked to Terry Simpson about that today. How are they going to contain these fellows once they got control of the puck in the offensive zone? And he said, you know, they work that give and go so beautifully, you really almost have to revert to a man-on-man defense. You see Eddie Olczyk gets caught that time. He loses Igor Larionov, and a terrific feed down low. They are just so gifted when they handle that puck. They're always dangerous. The minute a back checker turns his head to admire a pass, the player who just unloaded the pass jumps into the open hole, and that's what you got to guard against.
Habby Bullen in his first ever playoff start, he seemed to be quite relaxed and composed today. Didn't really outwardly show any signs of jitters.
Well, Kelly Rudy touched on that. There's really, you have to approach it like there's not a lot of pressure on Nikolai Habby Bullen. Nobody expects the Winnipeg Jets to win this series.
Habby Bullen grabs Lidstrom's shot from the point and holds it for another faceoff. How important is goaltending? Winnipeg fans can certainly relate. On November 30th, Nikolai Habby Bullen went out with a sprained knee. He didn't return until January 16th. During his absence, the Jets were 7-12-1. With Habby Bullen playing brilliantly down the stretch run, they posted a 5-1-1 record, and he was primarily responsible for getting this team into the postseason.
And goaltending coach Pete Peters told me that the biggest
Ed Olczyk goes after the loose puck in the corner, flips it high. Winnipeg Jets appear to have a little different game plan. They are taking no chances in their own zone.
That's the key. I mean, Simpson has emphasized that throughout the course of the past couple of days. You got to keep that puck in deep, and the critical areas, of course, are at both blue lines. If you hit that blue line, there's no play. It's got to go in deep.
Well, Scotty Bowman has had seasons of 58, 59, 60, and 61 wins. Or, pardon me, 62 wins, this being the most successful. Only 3 losses on home ice this year for the Red Wings: Ottawa, Winnipeg, and Vancouver. And in that 6-4 win on January the 8th, Winnipeg scored 4 power play goals.
And that was only 36 wins, not 365. That would be a pretty good season, wouldn't it? I tell you what, though, the Jets, the fact that they have had some success here plays a huge factor for this club. Sure, both wins were early on in the season before the Red Wings really started to take off, but anytime a player has success in a building, I think he feels a little bit more comfortable playing there in subsequent games.
Puck is dumped down the ice. This will be an icing call if the Red Wings get to it first, and they do. Shane Doan thought he was going to get a stick on it, but he was checked by Greg Johnson. And the first-year draft pick has to skate back to the other end for the face-off. Keith Primo is such a factor for the Red Wings on the power play. He takes up a position in front of Nikolai Habby Bullen. As a matter of fact, the last time these two teams met last week here at Joe Louis, he and Habby Bullen got into it, and that led to a bit of a brawl in the third period.
And it seemed to really upset Nikolai Habby Bullen, too. Certainly something that he probably has not seen an awful lot of in his career. But at 6'5", almost impossible to move him out from in front of the net. And the challenge for a goalkeeper is to make the adjustment. One shift you face a guy like Primo, and then you get the Russian unit following up. They move the puck around, and it's a whole different type of game for the goaltender in that crease. The Russian unit, you got to play a little bit deeper. And of course, you don't have to worry so much about being screened. You have to worry about the back door.
There's the shot by Larionov from the faceoff. The puck comes loose, and Norm McIver skates it out of his own zone. Larionov has had a couple of scoring opportunities for the Wings early in the hockey game. Kozlov starts back for the Red Wings. Larionov jumps up into the play. At the blue line, he's stopped, and the Winnipeg Jets come back. Keith Tkachuk trying to work in against Konstantinov. Konstantinov trying to hold him up and succeeds. The puck comes loose along the boards, but pinching in from the point. Finlay kept it onside. Cross-ice pass for Newmanen. Newmanen puts it back at the Red Wing goal. Fetisov picks it up there and leaves it for Konstantinov. 10:56 remaining in the opening period. Tkachuk steals the puck, but can't do anything with it as Konstantinov flips it around the other way. Jani trying to cut off Fetisov. Now the Red Wings bring it up to the blue line. Fedorov had some problems trying to pick up the pass, and the Winnipeg Jets start back. Pass into the slot area for Jani. Jani works his way right in, and his shot just trickled wide.
Pretty good action in front of the crease between Keith Tkachuk and Vladimir Konstantinov. That's another matchup we'll look for.
Coffey centers it. It went off McCarty's stick as he was tied up in front of the net. Good job by Dallas Drake to get back into his own zone to pick up his shot.
A lot of the defensive responsibilities for that Jani Tkachuk line often fall on the shoulders of Dallas Drake.
Jamnov has lost his helmet in the battle for the loose puck in the corner. Red Wings trying to move it up along the boards as Jamnov is knocked down. Tverdovsky gets it. Cross-ice pass for Jamnov. Scores! Alexei Jamnov, who is being harassed in the corner, having problems, lost his helmet. Back in the lineup for the first time, took a beautiful cross-ice pass and beat Osgood High for a 1-0 Winnipeg lead.
Already the complexion of this game changes in a real hurry because the Jets have one of their defensemen jumping up into the play. It's Oleg Tverdovsky. He's sniffing around, waiting for that loose puck to materialize. You see two blue shirts down low, working the forecheck, very aggressive. Detroit throws that puck away. And look at Tverdovsky. Makes the smart play, cross-ice pass, and the Red Wings are caught leaving the zone early. Jamnov has got the wide open net.
Winnipeg goal scorer number 10. The 23rd goal of the year, Alexei Jamnov.
Jamnov from Korolev and Tverdovsky at 10:06 of the opening period for a 1-0 Winnipeg lead. The puck back of the Winnipeg net. Yzerman now controlling, feeds it back. There's the shot and the big save off Rouse.
Boy, you don't expect to see Bob Rouse sneaking right down almost to the top of the crease of that Winnipeg zone. That caught the Jets a little bit by surprise. Paying so much attention to Paul Coffey, you forget about a Bob Rouse.
Well, the Winnipeg Russian players were talking about the Fab Five. Here's the shot by Brown, and Happy Bullen has it. And the Winnipeg players were saying they may have the Fab Five. We've got the Forgotten Four. Three of them figured in on the Winnipeg goal. Jamnov from Korolev and Tverdovsky. Alexei Jamnov has been on injured reserve since the 23rd of March. Brian, you said in the pregame he could make a difference. He has the lone goal.
Well, he gives the Jets another finisher up front. You see how he just buries it up top right there. Remains to be seen what kind of stamina Jamnov will have rather towards the end of this hockey game.
Tverdovsky chases down the loose puck in the corner. Got it to Olczyk. He flips it to the line. Not out. Taylor keeps it onside, but they ruled it was a glove pass.
That's a good call by the official. Actually, it was Andy Van Helleman that made that call. Normally, you would expect the linesman to blow the whistle, but the experienced Van Helleman stepped in, made the correct call.
Last Friday night, Andy Van Helleman, a native Winnipegger, asked the National Hockey League if he could referee the final regular season game at the Winnipeg Arena. And he was the official as the Winnipeg Jets clinched a playoff spot with a 5-3 victory over the Los Angeles Kings.
You know, it's funny, at the morning skate, both teams were asking, who's the referee tonight? Who's the referee tonight? I think both of them were pretty pleased when they heard Van Helleman's name because you pretty much know what to expect whenever he's got a hold of the whistle.
Chris Draper's shot is blocked. Tverdovsky and Brown go to the corner. The puck back of the net. Primo Trying to work free of Muni. He succeeds. Working his way back to the line. Throws it in front of the net. Broken up there by Tverdovsky. And Tkachuk banks it off the boards and down the ice. It bounced away from Jamnov. And the Red Wings chase it down in their own zone. Ramsey, a lead pass up into center ice territory to Brown. Brown was checked in against the boards by Finlay. And Finlay dumps it down into Red Wing territory. Eastwood goes back after it. He's taken in against the end boards. Continues to battle. Primo came in. Shannon is in there fighting for it as well. Shannon does an excellent job working down low along the boards. Very solid on his skates, and he continues to fight. Finally, the puck goes back to the net. Lidstrom is forced to try and come out the other side.
And if there is one area of the ice surface that the Detroit Red Wings do not want to play, it's deep in the corners in the defensive zone.
7:40 remains in the first. When Igor Larionov arrived in Detroit in the trade with San Jose, to accommodate Larionov, they moved Fedorov to right wing from center. But during the course of this series and tonight as well, I think Scotty Bowman might move Fedorov back on occasion to a center ice position on another line.
Well, for the most part, you know, they don't really play any one position. They really roam all over the ice, especially in the offensive zone.
Here's a chance for Kozlov. Abby Bullen was down well out of his net, but he managed to get a piece of it. Kozlov along the boards being tied up. The puck comes free, and Newman skates away for Winnipeg. Janney working along the boards, loses it. Larionov starts back. The Wings really excel at this transition game. Here's Larionov in across the line, but Kozlov was offside.
No question about it. You know, there was an article written in the Detroit Free Press the other day that what is the secret to the success of this Russian line, and it wasn't more so the fact that they are in possession of the puck most of the time. It's the way they react whenever there is a turnover on either side of the puck. Here's that last chance by Kozlov. You see Fedorov just threads the needle, gets it across to him, but Abby Bullen extremely aggressive standing right in front of Kozlov. He did not have much room to go up top. Look at Abby Bullen out with the poke check. To me, that's a pretty good indication that he is playing with an awful lot of confidence.
He was asked what he felt about Cicerelli being suspended for the first 2 games. He said he should have got more. He and Cicerelli have had a bit of a battle this season. Cicerelli is another who likes to take up that position in front of the net and antagonize the goalkeeper. I think you can relate to that, can't you, Brian?
I think most goalkeepers can.
Eisenman's pass to McCarty, and very quickly McCarty spun and fired, and Abby Bullen had to react just as quickly. Jamnov works his way in, trying to go around Rouse, throws it out into the slot area. It's broken up by the Wings. 6:27 remaining in the opening period. McCarty gets to the line. As the puck taken away by McIver. Olczyk now tried to scoop it out. It was blocked by Eisenman. McCarty battles with McIver in the corner. The puck comes free. This time Olczyk will get it out.
It's almost sense that every time that puck goes up the boards in the Winnipeg defensive zone that those players are extremely determined not to make plays, rather just to chip it out.
Primo goes in after the puck, tried to center it. Johnson is taken in against the boards. Maltby couldn't center it. Maltby is playing in his first postseason game ever. Chris King was looking for Stapleton. The pass was beyond his reach and goes back into Red Wing territory. 5:39 remaining in the first period. 1-0 Winnipeg leading on a goal by Alexei Jamnov. Here comes Primo winding up, shooting, just missing the far side. Johnson couldn't control it along the boards. The Red Wings have to set up again in neutral territory. A pass for Primo. Tverdovsky beats him to it, but Primo got the puck caught up in his equipment. However, he couldn't carry on. Ian Fraser dumps it down the ice, and back after it goes Fedosov. Both teams making line changes. Here comes the veteran Fedosov. 2 Olympic gold medals with the Soviet national team. Puck fired into the corner, picked up now by Dallas Drake. Great wide pass, intercepted by the Red Wing. Fedorov lost it along the boards to Janney. The Red Wings take it back into their own zone to set up.
You know, one of the ways to defense this Russian unit is to really drop back and take away effectively half of the ice. I've noticed that the Winnipeg Jets have been doing that periodically. They get all 5 jerseys back on their side of the red line. Takes away a lot of space.
Fedorov gets set, fires it wide. Nice setup by Kozlov. The Jets start back. Jani leading the attack. He gains the blue line. Tried to drop it off for Drake. It's picked off. Kozlov ahead to Larionov. Fedorov goes hard to the net. To the trailer, back at the point, and it's skipped away from Konstantinov, and there's a penalty call coming up against Konstantinov. He got involved in a collision with Dallas Drake, an elbowing call in Winnipeg territory. The Jets will have their first power play.
You know, you talk about the progress of Vladimir Konstantinov. A lot of people consider him a Norris Trophy candidate. Why? Because he's been able to take the bad penalty out of his game. Yeah, we saw him get the elbow up high on Dallas Drake. He goes to the box, and the Jets' power play gets an opportunity. Special teams, of course, are always going to be a huge factor in any series.
The Red Wings with a better than 91% penalty killing percentage on home ice. They allowed only 14 goals at the Joe Loup while playing shorthanded in their 41 home games. That's a remarkable statistic. Jamnov gains the line, and it's offside.
I had a discussion with Terry Simpson this morning, and I asked him, you know, how do you try and exploit this penalty killing unit? And he said, well, they apply pressure to the puck over the ice. All over the ice, rather. So the key for us is to complete consecutive passes. He says usually if you can make 3 or 4 passes in succession, you can break down a penalty killing unit that really thrives on pressure. So look for Winnipeg to really try and move that puck around.
Jamnov is going to be back in the point with Teppo Numminen. Numminen from the draw, works his way in, drives it in deep. Rouse tried to play it around the boards, was cut off by Tkachuk, but now Lidstrom finds an opening and he clears. 3:51 remaining in the first, 129 in the penalty to Konstantinov. Jamnov misses Numminen with a pass. Olczyk touches it, and that is an offside call against Winnipeg.
Alexei Jamnov, he is the skilled puck handler that they like to have bring that puck up the ice on the power play unit. Quite often he will come late from behind. That last instance, Jamnov was carrying the puck as soon as he started to exit the offensive zone. That's not what they want. They want him to come from behind the play. He's such a deft stick handler. He can beat people one-on-one right at the Detroit blue line. Ideally, that's what Terry Simpson wants to have happen.
People are wondering about his conditioning in view of the length of time he has been out and off skates. He began skating again last week. There's a difference in just skating and being involved in a game situation.
Take an awful lot more contact in the game than you do in practice, of course, and it's always a concern with a back injury of about a flare-up. You know, it can happen at any time.
When you talk about skating, this young man with the puck back of the Winnipeg net, Oleg Tverdovsky, can really fly. You saw a lot of him in Anaheim before he was traded to the Winnipeg Jets for Timo Solani.
The thing about Oleg Tverdovsky, and it was the one thing that caught the eye of general manager Jack Ferrara, who originally drafted him, was his ability to negotiate through traffic with the puck. Can't teach that type of skill.
To Korolev feeds it back to the point. Tverdovsky shoots, saved by Osgood as Stapleton was setting up a screen in front of the net. Now it's Korolev picking off a pass, tried to throw it out front, blocked by Osgood. Drake works along the boards, attempted to feed the point. It was intercepted, and Fedorov has it in neutral territory. Paul Coffey jumping up into the play, takes it back in the Winnipeg net. He fell as he attempted to center it, and Korolev has it for Winnipeg with 16 seconds remaining in the penalty. Here's a feed to Jamnov. He is checked neatly by Lidstrom, and the Red Wings start back. Ramsey simply dumps it down into Winnipeg territory. Loose puck back of the net. Yzerman is tied up by Finley, and the Winnipeg Jets start back just as Konstantinov steps out of the penalty box. Osgood played it to the corner. There was a Winnipeg player there, but the Jets centering attempt knocked down. Now it goes back to the net. Here's a shot that just goes through the crease by Olczyk as Jamnov took it back to the net and fed it out neatly.
I can't believe how those wingers from Detroit collapsed down in the defensive zone. Those Winnipeg Jet points are wide open right now.
Konstantinov felt he might be a marked man in this series. He's been involved this year in a couple of altercations with the Jets, most notably Dallas Drake. and it was his elbow on Dallas Drake that resulted in the Winnipeg power play, but a very ineffective power play it was.
It certainly was, and you know, in that situation, you don't know whether to take a shot at the power play unit or give credit to the penalty killers, but certainly Jets unable to really get much going.
Loose puck at center ice. Doan picks it up, slides it ahead for Eastwood, out for Shannon. Shannon couldn't get a stick on it as he was tied up by Fedosov, and in the crease, Osgood covers up. Shannon this year opened the scoring for the Winnipeg Jets in their first game against Dallas, and he finished the scoring in their final game against Anaheim.
The one thing about Darren Shannon is that he will score those tough kind of goals. He's willing to pay the price. Focus on Shannon now. He's right at the bottom of your screen. He just sets up in front of the crease, and it's a terrific job by Fetisov actually to box him out. Fetisov knew what he was doing when he just tipped that back to Osgood.
Eastwood won the draw, but it skipped past Finley back at the point. Redirected down into Red Wing territory. Doan is in there forechecking, takes his man in against the boards. Kozlov flips it to the other corner, picked off there by Shannon. Eastwood, checked by Konstantinov, flipped up along the boards, and the Red Wings Primo gets it out to center ice to Larionov. He was checked. Picked up now by Fedosov. Larionov moves in across the line as we move into the final minute of this opening period. Larionov again controlling for the Red Wings. Tried to slide it through, blocked there by Doan. He dumps it out to center. Again, the Red Wings try to set something up in this final minute. Puck is redirected into Winnipeg territory. Back after it goes Finley.
But again, notice how those Winnipeg players just all collapse inside their own center red line. Effectively, it cuts the ice surface in half. It does not give the Russian unit enough space to handle the puck. It's worked very well for Terry Simpson in the first period.
McCarty is checked. Loose puck as Fraser goes after it. Penalty coming up against the Red Wings with 21 seconds remaining in the period.
This is another thing that Winnipeg has done very well in the first 20 minutes, and that is survive off of the turnovers in the Detroit zone. That time, Darren McCarty was forced to pull down Stapleton because Stapleton was about to get possession of that puck right in the slot. Look at Stapleton. He's got a bead in on Osgood. McCarty's got to reach out and take him down in that situation.
Well, the Winnipeg Jets were concerned about their turnovers coming into this game. They played a pretty sound game in that department, but the Wings have been guilty of the turnovers unexpectedly.
And they've been in the defensive zone, and that's why Scotty Bowman has that expression on his face right now.
A hooking call against McCarty. The Winnipeg Jets on the power play. Tkachuk tried to work into the slot area, had the puck taken away from him, and it's cleared by Detroit. 10 seconds remaining in the opening period. Winnipeg leading 1-0 on a goal by Alexei Zhamnov. And that is the way this first period is going to end. A long shot by Zhamnov just as the horn sounds. But a pretty solid opening period by the Winnipeg Jets.
Very solid first 20. Javi Bulin made a couple of nice saves when called upon, but for the most part, I thought the Jets did an outstanding job of containing the Red Wings. And of course, they got the turnovers in the offensive zone that they were looking for, enough to take the lead in this hockey game.
Detroit outshot Winnipeg by a margin of 8-5, but the most important statistic, one Winnipeg goal by Alexei Zhamnov.
Welcome back to the Broadcast Center in Toronto. You're watching the Wings and the Jets game one, and as expected, Winnipeg plays it close to the vest, or Winnipeg as they like to be known, and it's 1-0. Alexei Zhamnov, Kelly, what do you think so far?
Well, it's surprising, but he scored 5 goals on us a couple of years ago, so I think he's a pretty good player.
Are you in for all of them?
Oh, probably.
You know, Tkachuk's been amazing to me. He signs this $6 million contract. They strip the captaincy. He comes in with a bad groin. Everything that could go wrong did, and he responded with a 50-goal a year. Do you think he's the key to that club, or is it maybe Zhamnov?
No, I think Tkachuk is. It's not surprising. You know, you have a good player like that, and you have to challenge him sometimes. And maybe taking the captaincy away, not only does it send a message that, hey, you can't hold out on us, but we want a lot from you. And he went out there, and like you said, he had the injury, but he still went out there, and he played great, and he got his 50th goal against us. And that's exciting, because that's what people want to come see. They want to see the best players being the best players on the ice.
I'll ask you about Gretzky here in a moment, but Detroit's down 1-0. The first setback already of the playoffs. Will any panic set into that room, or how do you think they played?
No, I think that they're gonna go on a big roll now in the second and third period. I don't think that it's really an issue to them. Obviously, there are going to be some butterflies, and I didn't really see it. Although Winnipeg scored first, Detroit's going to go on a roll, and they have just too many great players and too many character players not to.
Well, Gretzky's your pal, and he was impressive. 3 assists last night, and you spoke to him today. What's his mood, and how does he feel about St. Louis's chances?
Well, I'm one of his biggest fans, so I was awfully happy for him last night. That's, you know, the one thing that I think is pretty disgraceful and shameful is all the people now taking a cheap shot at him with this thing, and other people painting him as a villain in this whole issue and the trade and so forth. And Wayne is the most honest, forthright guy with wanting to win, and what's wrong with that?
Well, do you think that Los Angeles, can you explain the train wreck, as you called it in the papers in Edmonton, that happened this year? And you're caught right in the middle. Marty did get to move, Curry got to move, Wayne didn't. What happened there?
Well, there's a lot of issues there, and there's nothing wrong with making change. Obviously, if you're not winning, you have to make change, and that's the nature of the business. So I have no problems with the changes and so on. But league-wide, the only thing I had issues with or problems with is when you say bad things about good people. And there was a lot of good people, and they had a lot of good things to contribute to the game of hockey. Wayne being one of them, Marty as well, and gaining popularity. Yari was a great player, and Rick Tocchet, and so on. And there's just no need for bad-mouthing good people.
Beautifully said. And one of them's standing right now at Joe Louis Arena in Detroit. Captain Steve Yzerman of the Red Wings. Think he didn't have that early in the year. He's with Scott Oak. Scott.
Steve Yzerman, pre-series predictions called for you guys to be up about 5-0 at the end of the first period. Has the complexion of this game changed with the Jets leading 1-0?
No, not really. We don't really care if we win by 1 or win by 5. Their goaltender is obviously very good, and we've played him a few times this year and in the last year as well. So. You know, I thought in general we played pretty good. We pressed in a little bit, forcing it a bit. We gave up the goal, and we're trying to force a 2-on-1 out of our end. But things are going all right. We just settle down and keep playing, and things will be all right.
How about the tight defense they've played, especially in their own zone, Steve?
Well, you know, we had some good quality scoring chances. You know, their defense are standing up really well in the neutral zone. We just got to fight through it. Teams generally play a lot tighter defensively in the playoffs, so that's something we're going to have to get used to and really fight through. But we had, you know, a few good scoring chances. We'll just stick with what we're trying to do.
There's Steve Yzerman with Scott Oak and Kelly Rudy. I think you could see in the captain of the Red Wings this sense that, look, we weren't all that bad. And Larionov had one golden opportunity. You felt that, too, that they had a better period than maybe the score shows.
Right, I really do. I thought that they really outplayed Winnipeg. But Winnipeg scored on their chance. And if Detroit keeps rolling like that and outplay the team, eventually they're going to score.
2 other games are underway, and we're getting set for the game at Chicago between the Flames and the Hawks. Let's show you highlights, beginning with the game at Pittsburgh. Jim Carey had a tough run in the postseason last year, no better tonight. In fact, that was so fast, how could you blame Carey? But he did give the puck away to Jágr, who got it over to Peter Nedved. He scored, and then 11 seconds later, another poor Jim Carey giveaway. Nice here. I'm going to get it whacked by Kelly. And that made it 2-0 at 3:04. Then Peter Bondra scored in response, beating Barrasso, and that's a big goal, needless to say, for the Caps, who were on their heels. Jim Schoenfeld, Kelly called a timeout right after the 2 quick Nedved goals.
That's a good move. You know, I think that with the lack of success that Washington has had lately, that it's a good move. And hey, you know, it's not a big deal. We're down 2-0, but it's going to be a long series. I must be getting old though, Ron, because I hate when goalies play the puck now all the time. And I know that seems to be the rage. And you know, they're teaching young guys to play the puck up to their wingers and so on. But I don't agree with it anymore.
I wonder if in the international game, with the defensemen coming in that may not be communicating in Swedish or Russian or English, if it's easy for you to work with the team.
Well, I found that to be a problem this year with our team, with all the changes, not only with the international languages, but just new players. And some players don't like to speak as much. Some guys are more vocal. And I had a real problem playing it. That's why, well, two reasons why I don't like to play it. I don't think that you should anymore. It's a defenseman's job, and I can't raise a puck anymore.
You can only get one kind of raise, and that's the best kind to get, I'm afraid. Let's go to the game between Boston and Florida, and the Panthers have struck quickly. 2 goals. Ray Shepherd here, who they brought over from San Jose, and has he ever done a job offensively? And Mike Huff has just scored as well, so it's 2-0, Florida leading the Boston Bruins. We'll have thoughts on that as we move along. You're watching the Jets and the Red Wings on night 2 of the playoffs.
The
Second period is underway. The Winnipeg Jets on the power play. Norm McIver takes it back in his own zone. The Red Wings kill up their penalty killing unit. Larionov is out there forechecking for the Red Wings. 17 seconds remaining in the call against Darren McCarty that occurred late in the first period. Winnipeg leading by a score of 1-0. Ramsey takes his time, fires at the length of the ice, and that will effectively kill off the McCarty penalty.
The Red Wings are giving the Winnipeg Jets fits, the penalty killing unit, pressuring the puck all the way deep into Winnipeg territory, and the Jets really unable to get any forward momentum going at all.
Aaron Shannon attempted to play it back into the corner. It was picked off by Ramsey. He gets it across to Lidstrom. The Red Wings having some problems against the forechecking of Doan and Shannon getting out of their own zone. A clearing attempt cut off by Eastwood. He drives it back in. 17:53 remaining in the second period. Winnipeg leading by a score of 1-0. Here's Lidstrom getting set. Can't find anyone to give it to. Still controls it. Gets it across, and it's blocked by Eastwood. And Eastwood can't get it out. Lidstrom has it again. He throws it towards the net, and it's whistled down. They rule that the Red Wings had too many men on the ice, and there's not much doubt about it. All six are still there.
Nothing to debate there. Stu Grimson jumped over the boards. Nobody took his place. And that's what Scotty Bowman is talking to Stewie about right now. He's got to say, Stewie, you got to wait until your man comes over the boards before you jump out there. I know you're eager, but that's going to cost us.
Well, both coaches were talking about playing disciplined, determined hockey. And the bench minor against the Red Wings will send the Winnipeg Jets right back out on the power play. Scotty Bowman has coached 6 teams to a Stanley Cup victory. He's been in a Stanley Cup final on 4 other occasions as a coach.
There you see all the Red Wing players. There your screen, all 6 of them right there. Now what happened was Keith Primo went over towards the bench. He got within a couple feet of it, and then he veered away. Well, Grimson didn't wait for him to make sure that he was jumping over top. He jumped on the ice, and then Primo veered back into the play as well.
On the power play, the Winnipeg Jets have had 2 of them, and they've managed just 2 shots on goal. Excellent penalty killing by the Red Wings. Fedorov gets set. There's a shot right on. Javi Bulin wasn't sure where the puck was. Now Zhamnov starts back for Winnipeg to Tkachuk. Tkachuk gets away from Fedorov, works his way into the slot over to Olczyk. Olczyk couldn't control it. He and Rouse bump as the puck goes to the corner. The Wings try and clear, can't get it out. Zhamnov at the high point. There's a shot, redirected, and the rebound off Olczyk, stopped by Osgood, and now the Red Wings gain control and flip it down the ice. It bounced away from Yzerman, or he might have had a breakaway.
There's good reason why those Winnipeg Blue Liners got to be back on their heels a little bit. Whenever they got Fedorov and Yzerman out there killing penalties, of course, they're also a pretty strong threat to score a shorthanded goal.
1 minute remaining in the bench minor against the Red Wings. Norm McIver starts out slowly, feeds it ahead to Tverdovsky. Tverdovsky drives it diagonally in, picked up there by Ramsey. Ramsey can't get it out as Tkachuk kept it onside. Fed back to the point to Tverdovsky. He goes rink wide to Tkachuk. He was knocked down in front of the net. Primo can't get it out against McIver. Back to the point, Tverdovsky getting set, moving in. He shoots it, it goes off a leg. Picked up at the other point by McIver. McIver slides it into the corner to Janney, back to McIver, over to Tverdovsky. He let it go to Stapleton. Stapleton is checked in the corner. The puck is loose. Tverdovsky tried to cut it off. He succeeds against Primo. 15 seconds remaining in the penalty. The Jets controlling the puck up to this point in the Red Wing zone, but not getting any good shots on goaltender Chris Osgood. And now some pushing and shoving. Keith Tkachuk was involved, and the end result is going to be a Winnipeg penalty.
It'll be interesting to see the call from Van Hellemond. He calls the retaliation because Primo gave Tkachuk the first shot initially. Tkachuk could just not contain his emotions. He bounces back. Watch Primo. He steps in with a little bit of an elbow. There's a straight left from Keith Tkachuk. When Primo goes down, Van Hellemond is left with no choice but to make the call.
So 8 seconds remaining in the bench minor to the Red Wings, and then Detroit will have a 1:52 power play. A roughing penalty against Keith Tkachuk at 4:15. Only one shot on the power play by the Winnipeg Jets.
It looks to be like those Detroit penalty killers when the Jets do get set up in the offensive zone as they're taking away those plays down low. That, of course, is the strength of the Winnipeg power play unit, and the Jets are going to have to get it back to the point and blast away if they're going to get anything going.
Kozlov is up and all set to step back on the ice. How about this Red Wing power play? Craig Muni flips it down the ice as Kozlov returns to the game. Fedosov works his way out slowly. Left at the line, Larionov fakes the shot, gets it cross ice in front to Fedorov. His shot is blocked. The Jets can't clear. Fedosov fakes the shot, plays it across to the other point. Larionov back to Fedosov. There's the shot. It's blocked by Chris King and deflects out to center ice.
They are so dangerous when they start tic-tac-toeing that puck around down low. Winnipeg gets a little bit fortunate. It was Dave Manson who came up with a huge block.
Kozlov along the boards, tied up by Manson. King couldn't get it out. Back to the point. Fedosov had some problems handling the pass. Larionov feeds Konstantinov to Kozlov. 5 Russians out there, constantly on the move. There's the shot, redirected and steered to the corner by Khabibulin. Now back at the line, it's Fedorov moving in. He shoots, and it went through people to the far corner. Kozlov behind the net. Gets away from Manson, now is knocked down by Manson. Still stays with the puck, feeds it back to the point. Fedosov's shot is blocked. Stapleton starts back for Winnipeg, taking his time as he gets to center ice, and then the Jets change up their penalty-killing 4.
The Jets, much like the Detroit Red Wings, really collapsing that box down low. You want to eliminate the low play. Don't give Fedorov and Kozlov time to work some magic right in front of the crease.
Primo works his way in deep. Gilmanen throws it around the boards for Dallas Drake. Drake takes a hit from McCarty, still manages to move the puck ahead to Darren Shannon. Is that what you call paying the price?
I would say so. Pretty good job of protecting the puck by Dallas Drake.
Winnipeg Jets back at full strength. Tkachuk out of the penalty box. Gilmanen cuts off a pass, looking for Tkachuk coming down the left side, but it's offside Winnipeg with 13:32 remaining in the second period. Most two teams will have a long layoff before playing game 2. They won't play until Monday. In this series between the Red Wings and the Jets, they'll go at it to Joe Lou again on Friday night. Coffey's shot from the point. Deflects off a body, picked up now by Shannon. The Jets break out 3-on-2. Shannon drops it off. Tverdovsky with a shot right on. And the Red Wings start back. Drop pass for Yzerman. Yzerman into the slot, a shot, the rebound, and that's just directed wide by Taylor. Taylor working out from the corner, a backhand shot off a skate. McCarty tried to flip it around the boards. Darren Shannon had lost his stick, and Shannon goes down on all fours to cover the puck. And he's going to get a penalty. He put his glove on it. And the Red Wings will have another power play with 12:54 left in the second.
Darren Shannon finds himself in the box. Here's the reason why. Shannon had lost his stick. He'd actually handed it to Tverdovsky, and without it, he's trying to get a whistle. But look at the Red Wings. They just kind of back off, don't put a lot of pressure on Shannon in that situation. He's got to move the puck. Good call by referee Andy Van Hellemond. It's a delay of game penalty coming at 7:06.
We talked about the problems the Winnipeg Jets had while they were on the power play. The Red Wings on the power play. And their 2 chances have only been able to generate 1 shot on goal. So both teams have been very effective with their penalty killing.
Kind of a situation that you know that Detroit is going to get their act together at some point in this hockey game. You just don't want to give them too many opportunities.
The Jets were unable to get it out. Now Fedorov gets it to Yzerman. Back to Fedorov. Primo's taken up in position. Here's Yzerman with a shot wide. That went off the side of the net. Primo again in front of the net. The Jets are having all sorts of problems trying to move him. Yzerman goes back at the net. Now looks to the point for Coffey. Over to Lidstrom. His shot is wide. Off the back of the net. Picked up by Fedorov. He tried to throw it out front. It was deflected right back to Fedorov. Fedorov moves in into the slot. Yzerman's shot steered to the corner. Back to the point, and the puck bounces away from Coffey.
Primo doing an incredible job in that power play unit in front of the crease. He's distracting not only the attention of Jeff Finley, but Dave Manson as well. You can only afford to have one D-man pick him up.
Fedorov's shot goes wide. At 6'4", 220 pounds, Primo is a tough man to move when he takes up his position in front of the net.
He certainly is, but in some respects, they almost have to forget about him in certain situations because Yzerman got himself wide open right at the hash mark twice.
36 seconds remaining in the penalty. Manson breaks it up, and Manson starts back with Zhamnov. There's a long shot that steered to the corner. Korolev along the boards, tied up. Larionov comes back to pick it up for the Wings. Drop pass at the blue line. An attempted pass back to the point to McCarty. He wasn't in position to accept it. And the Winnipeg Jets are going to get out of this penalty call against Darren Shannon. It would appear he's ready to step back on the ice, and he returns. Both teams have been very effective in killing off penalties.
Certainly have. For the most part, the power plays have been ineffective. Not an awful lot of scoring chances one way or the other.
Kozlov is forced to circle, goes back to the line. Oh, that was almost picked off. Keith Tkachuk now had to circle back. He and Darren Shannon would have had a 2-on-1. Now it's the Red Wings to the attack. Larionov taken in against the boards. The loose puck flipped down the ice. And this will be an icing call as Maltby goes back to touch up for the Red Wings. 10:19 remaining in the second. Still 1-0 Winnipeg. With an update, here's Ron McLean. And the lone goal here at the Joe Louis Arena as we take a look at the 3-1 Florida lead on Boston has been scored by Alexei Zhamnov. That came in the first period. It's Keith Tkachuk working his way out to center with Craig Janney. Drop pass for Janney. Janney, quick shot. That was high and over top of the net. Craig Muni goes back after it. Muni, one of the more experienced Winnipeg Jets. Here's Tkachuk now into the slot area. He and Janney tried to work in close. Janney still has it. His feed back to the point. Picked off by the Red Wings. Primo, without his stick, is able to knock the puck ahead to Rouse. Taylor thought he had Tverdovsky all lined up, and the Winnipeg defenseman sidestepped him just at the last moment.
Looks like the Red Wings are trying to pick up the physical part of their game because the Jets have not been missing too many checks out there. I think they've had the edge over Detroit in that area.
Primo has been playing a very physical shift here for the Red Wings. Taylor gets it back to the line. Rouse couldn't fire it towards the net, dumped it to the corner, and it's taken there by Dallas Drake. And to relieve the pressure, he rings it off the glass and down the ice. This will be icing against Winnipeg with 9:09 remaining in the second period.
Oleg Tverdovsky was very ginger as he made his way over to that Winnipeg bench. There's the man who's been doing most of the damage. Keith Primo, they got to hold him up. It's going to be trouble.
Well, Keith Primo at 6'4", 220 pounds, has the size and the strength to play a physical game, and he sent Tverdovsky flying. And when he takes up a position in front of the Winnipeg net, about the only two defensemen the Jets have who are capable of matching strength with him are perhaps Craig Muni and Dave Manson.
You see Oleg Tverdovsky is in some discomfort over that Winnipeg bench. You know, we had a chance to talk to John Paddock in between the first and second period. He said, you know, down the stretch, Oleg has probably been our second best defenseman. And Simpson needs both Tverdovsky and Teppo Numminen to be the guys that carry the puck out of the defensive zone. Those are the two guys with the good wheels that can handle the puck, that can spring those talented forwards for the Winnipeg Jets.
Since the trade, Tverdovsky has not scored a goal for Winnipeg. He had 7 while he was with Anaheim. Fedorov trying to work away from a check. The puck is loose in the corner. Fedorov comes in again for Larionov. Zhamnov is on him. Olchek along the boards, tried to get it out. It deflected into the crowd and out of play. 8:52 remains in the second. Winnipeg clings to a 1-0 lead. The Winnipeg Jets dump the puck down the ice with Zhamnov racing after it. Vladislav moved it ahead, picked off by Craig Muni. He gets it to the line. Korolev tried to slip it through, got it again. Olczyk comes back to help out, and the puck comes out to center ice. Put back in by Eddie O. Osgood tees it up back of his own net. 8:29 remaining in the second period. Long lead pass for Larionov. He was met at the red line by Olczyk. Fired back into Detroit territory. Konstantinov gets away from Olczyk. Throws a rink-wide pass over to Kozlov. Kozlov gives it to Larionov. Larionov working into position, lost control. Olczyk now dumps it down into Detroit territory. It appears as though Simpson is trying to match up the Jamnov line against the Larionov unit.
Well, I think the idea being that both Korolev and Jamnov are pretty familiar with that playing style and perhaps do a better job defending against it.
Well, the Russian five stay out there. Kozlov with a long lead pass, but it crossed two lines as Johnson came out to take over from Larionov, and now it looks as though Bowman is going to change his complete unit.
Well, we talked about some of the players in the Winnipeg team who are going to play very important roles. Craig Janney is certainly one of them. Janney's been hot down the stretch, 21 points in the last 11 games for Winnipeg. He has that tremendous passing ability, much like a Wayne Gretzky, very comfortable camping out behind the net. But here's another guy, Igor Korolev. Remember, he got off to the terrific start. No one will benefit more from the arrival of Alexei Jamnov in the lineup than Korolev. They just seem to have that kind of good chemistry that allows them to be pretty effective together.
Manson with a shot from the faceoff, kicked out by Osgood. Abby Bullen comes out of the net to play it for Mike Eastwood. He banks it off the boards and out. 7:27 remaining in the period. Kuiper goes back after it. Being watched there by Brown. He leaves it in the corner from Manson. Johnson takes up the chase, but Manson used the net to his advantage to skate it out to center ice. And he flips it in deep. Shannon overskated it back of the net. Brown checked along the boards. And then Janney lost it. Back come the Red Wings. Chris Draper trying to work, or Taylor I should say, trying to work his way through. And the puck slipped off his stick right to the goal mouth, and it's covered up by Javi Bullen.
You know, the Jets really done a tremendous job in the second period. Really haven't allowed any quality chances against Javi Bullen. And the one thing, by backing up, that they've been able to take out of that Detroit offense has been the play of their defensemen. You haven't seen Paul Coffey, Vladimir Konstantinov. Nicholas Lidstrom has almost been invisible in this hockey game because the onus has been put on the Detroit forwards almost exclusively. The tactic of the Winnipeg Jets are really working well right now.
Yzerman and Janney in the face-off circle. The only goal of the hockey game in the first period by Alexei Jamnov from Korolev and Tverdovsky at the 10:06 mark.
I'm watching Darren McCarty, and he's got an eye on Keith Tkachuk wherever he lines up in the face-off circle. McCarty steps in front of him. I'm sure that that is his assignment for this series, to bump Tkachuk whenever possible.
There's much speculation that assignment might go to Chris Draper, but it appears as though McCarty is the man who is trying to handle Keith Tkachuk. Here's a chance now for McCarty, and a save by Javi Bullen as the Jets start back. Dallas Drake dodges Primo, works his way in, tried to slide it to Janney. He redirected it, but it was up high on Osgood, and back come the Red Wings. Paul Coffey with a shot. It comes off the end boards and is grabbed by Javi Bullen for a faceoff with 6:14 remaining in the second.
Darren McCarty had a pretty good chance again, this time off a defensive zone turnover. Yzerman has that ability to quickly wheel and find his open wingers. Javi Bullen just beat him with a nice aggressive play by the goalkeeper.
Scotty Bowman may feel that McCarty at 6'1", 205 pounds has better physical tools to handle Keith Tkachuk than Chris Draper.
No question. Here's that last opportunity. You see Yzerman, he just spins on a dime, puts a tape-to-tape pass onto the blade of McCarty, and Javi Bullen got a real good read on that, came out very aggressively.
Newman chops it up along the boards, and the Winnipeg Jets take no chances. They simply dump it out. That almost seems to be the game plan and has been the tactic of the Jets from the opening faceoff.
Well, certainly the lead affords them the opportunity to play that kind of a style.
Olczyk spins and fires off a stick. Larionov drops it back of his own net as the Red Wings try and set something up. Larionov having problems handling the pass. Now he slips it ahead. A race after it. Konstantinov bumped by Newmanen. The puck goes back to the net, picked up by the Jets, but they can't clear. Puck back of the Winnipeg goal. Newmanen trying to skate out of there, trying to get away from Kozlov. He's hauled down. The puck lies loose. Cross ice pass broken up neatly by the Jets. Jeff Finley in front of his own net made a very key play.
Well, I got to believe that Winnipeg bench should be pretty hot right now, because anytime you see a defenseman pulled down in the defensive zone and the opposing team gets an offensive chance, just like the Red Wings did. No call made by Van Helleman, and Winnipeg fortunate to escape that last situation.
Jeff Finley has played very well for the Winnipeg Jets this year. He was acquired from Philadelphia for Russ Romanek, spent the first part of the season down in Springfield of the American League.
Now there's what I'm talking about. It was Kozlov that pulled down Newman, and no call on the play. And Finley was given the job of defending the 2-on-1. He did a nice job. Finley has played well against the Red Wings this season too. He's +4, or +3 rather, in the 4 games against Detroit. So that stay-at-home style of his has worked pretty well.
Shot from the point redirected, and Habby Bullen saved that one. He looks pretty calm and composed for a player in his first postseason game.
He certainly does. And the one thing I like about Nikolai is that he is grabbing hold of that puck anywhere near the goal crease. He's playing a simple game. He's not trying to overhandle it.
From the faceoff, Draper tried to work his way through, and it came close to working. Stapleton dumps it down, then he was straightened up by Ramsey. Lidstrom goes after it, leaves it in the corner as he avoided a hit from Fraser. The puck is flipped up high and out of play with 4:56 remaining in the second. The Jets leading 1-0. And it's still a 1-0 Winnipeg lead with 4:56 remaining in the second here at the Joe Louis Arena. Craig Janney gets the draw back to the point, over to McIver. He dumps it to the corner. Drake is there trying to feed it out front. He has 3 Red Wings on top of him. He continues to battle. Now Manson pinches in from the point to keep it onside. Drake gets it back of the net, working along the boards, having problems there. Drake continues to battle, trying to push it past Lidstrom, but the Detroit defenseman comes up with the puck. Dumps it out to center ice. The Jets again trying to set up as Dallas Drake plays it along the boards, broken up there. And now Lidstrom will try and organize for the Wings. He fires it in. McIver chased into the corner. He pushes it ahead to Craig Janney. Nice play by the veteran defenseman. Janney gets to the line, tries to shovel it through for Tkachuk. He gets a shot. Osgood came up with the save. He went down on his right pad to block the short side. Here's Primo driving hard. Backhand shot. That's in the pads of Habby Bullen, and he holds it for a face-off.
First real sequence of end-to-end action that we've had in a long, long time. But I tell you what, those Winnipeg Jets almost added to their lead. Keith Tkachuk on a nice little pass from Janney came about 1.5 inches away from putting this over the line. Watch the way Osgood plays this. He's a little deep in the net. You can see that puck just sitting right in front of the goalpost. The Red Wings kicking into that transition game of theirs. A nice burst of speed down the right wing. And a good job by Craig Muni to keep Keith Primo to the outside. Made life a lot easier for Nikolai Habby Bullen.
3:56 remaining in the second. Winnipeg clinging to the 1-goal lead. Eastwood is going to be waved out of the face-off circle. Ed Olczyk will come in to work against Yzerman.
Kind of a nice situation for Terry Simpson, because Olczyk has played some center in his career.
Primo works to the corner. Yzerman is knocked down. So is Olczyk. Now the puck is fired out of the zone. Wide pass for Rouse. Rouse tried to flip it in softly, looking for Darren McCarty, but it was picked off by the Jets. Now Yzerman blocks a clearing attempt. Yzerman tried to walk out front, and he was checked by Finlay. Loose puck in the Winnipeg zone. Back to Coffey. Fan. Rouse winds up. His shot is redirected wide. Red Wings exerting pressure. There's a pass that slipped past the net as Rouse was sneaking in from the point. Puck still in the Winnipeg zone. Back to Eiserman. Eiserman getting set. He shoots. Saved by Happy Bullen. Eastwood gets the rebound. Can't clear. The Red Wings all over the Jets late in the second period here in Winnipeg territory. Eastwood gets the puck, dodges a check. Now Eastwood works his way out slowly and finally dumps it down the ice.
Well, they needed a whistle. They almost needed to ice that puck. Tough change coming up for the Jets.
Here's Coffey in full flight. The shot held by Happy Bullen.
Traffic. He's going to throw in there. Okay.
Well, the fans are starting to get into it here at the Joe Louis Arena following the pressure by the Red Wings in the last couple of minutes.
Well, you got to admire the tremendous work of Happy Bullen as the Red Wings were just pouring it on. Look at the work by Nikolai from behind. He gets a little bit fortunate. Pucks all around that goal crease, but the Red Wings just can't bury one.
McIver is checked along the boards. The puck goes back to the Winnipeg net, picked up there by Dave Manson. He can't clear. Happy Bullen will hang on to it. He isn't allowed to take any chances with Red Wings on the top of his crease.
Looks like the Jets are just trying to hang on at this point in the hockey game. And what's kind of interesting is if you look at the Red Wings record over the course of the regular season, if you have the lead against them, you see they have not been able to come from behind in the game all season long. Right now, you get the sense of Winnipeg just trying to hang on, the Red Wings pouring it on, and the Jets have had opportunities to clear that puck out of the defensive zone, but they have been turning it over. That is something that hasn't happened in the first 37 minutes of this hockey game. They've got to bear down.
The Red Wings have outshot the Jets by a 19-11 margin, but the only goal has been scored by that man, number 10, Alexei Zhamnov, in the face-off circle against Fedorov. Fedorov wins the draw, it comes back to the point. Fetisov's shot goes off a body to the corner. Kozlov trying to get away from Zhamnov, gives it to Larionov. Larionov into the slot area, broken up neatly by the Jets. They anticipated that move in from the point by Fetisov. 2:06 remaining in the second. Winnipeg 1, Detroit nothing. Puck stolen by Janney at center ice. Janney's all by himself as he comes in across the line. He plays the puck deep into the corner. Larionov goes back after him. Up ahead to Fedorov. He's working in against McIver. Larionov jumping up in the play, but the Winnipeg Jets' Dave Manson breaks it up and clears the zone. Wide pass by Fedorov. Eiserman managed to play it to Primo. Primo working against McIver. McIver trying to tie him up. Eiserman gets it again, throws it towards the front of the net. McCarty was going hard to the goal, but the puck didn't get to him. Now it's Paul Coffey from the corner out front for McCarty. A backhand shot through traffic. That ricocheted off body. All sorts of pressure here by the Red Wings, but Happy Bullen stands his ground with 1:11 remaining in the second. Now let's go back to Ron McLean.
You know, for the first time in this hockey game, the Red Wings defense get actively involved when they're cycling that puck down low. Paul Coffey, he's down in the corner. You cannot see him on the bottom of your screen, but you see they're just starting to throw that puck towards the crease area, and they're saying to their big guys, it's time for you guys to start winning some battles in front of Happy Bullen. McCarthy and Primo have had a very prominent role in this second period.
1:11 is the time remaining. The face-off to the right of Nikolai Happy Bullen. Primo moves into the face-off circle against Mike Stapleton. Draw comes back to the point. Coffey having some problems handling it. Flips it in back of the net. McCarty behind the goal for Eiserman, trying to walk out front. He's checked. Backhand shot goes wide. Primo is tied up at the side of the net. McCarty gets the puck for Eiserman. In front, and it was deflected away from Primo by Norm McIver. Back after it now goes Paul Coffey. He moves it ahead to Yzerman. The fans react as Yzerman leads the attack over to Coffey. Coffey centers it. Nobody in position. McCarty was tied up as he attempted to go for the net. Coffey gets it again. Another shot, and it's knocked down in front. The Jets can't get it out. Coffey in control. Takes the shot. Goes off a stick back of the net. Out front. And McCarty tried to jam it. It was knocked down, and it's flipped down the ice by Winnipeg.
You know, it's one thing to play good, solid defense in your defensive zone, but you have got to try and create something offensively. There's no way that the Jets will survive this hockey game if they just want to play back on their heels for the remainder. This team is just too potent up front to hold off for that long.
And now it is a question of survival. Here's a shot by Lidstrom just as the horn sounds to end the period.
Well, you got to give all the credit in the world to Nikolai Habibulin. He was under siege for the last 5 or 6 minutes of that period. Red Wings totally controlling play the last part of the second. It's going to be up to the Winnipeg Jets to give Habibulin a little bit of support if they hope to protect that lead.
The Red Wings outshot the Jets by a 13-6 margin in the second period, 21-11 overall, but Winnipeg clings to a 1-0 lead.
There's a smile, Mike, that only you can know, and maybe Cherry and all the guys who've been behind the bench at Stanley Cup playoff time. You must be extremely pleased with the victory. Tell me, now that you've had a day to think about it, what you felt were keys beyond those 3 obvious ones.
Oh, well, they were big keys for sure. Wayne made a great play to Brett, and that line in particular played a big part of our victory. But I think the part that was most impressive was our ability to shut the Leafs down in the third period defensively. And most coaches are looking for great defensive positioning and great defensive hockey, and protecting leads on the road is a tough thing to do in the playoffs, and we did, I think, a pretty good job in the third period.
We're watching all games, so is it any one tandem? Is it Pronger having come of age? Who is it doing the job back there?
Well, I think it's a combination of the way our forwards worked with the defense last night. We didn't give up any odd man rushes in the third period, and we basically played with 4 defense for the most part of the third.
Who were they?
And that was Barron and McGinnis and Krafchek and Pronger. And Huddy and Wells played from time to time. And Grant obviously did a super job for us in the early part of the game, and we gave him a lot of protection in the last 10 minutes.
Yeah, he was sensational. Is it true, Mike, that when you went to get Wayne Gretzky, you said, fine, if we don't get to the Cup in 2 years' time, I'll forego the last 2 years of my contract?
No, I didn't say that, and I don't know where that rumor's where it started, but it was one of our objectives. We went after Wayne and started the process last December in '95, and it took quite some time, 3 months, to finally put the deal together. We worked diligently with LA, and we're glad to have him.
Now, Kelly Rudy is a good pal of Wayne, said one of the things that Wayne loves, that you've had the whole team together in everything, dinners, you name it. Is that because there's so many newcomers late to the mix, or have you always done that at playoffs?
We've always done that at playoffs, and we did that in Canada Cup, and we feel it's important. We invite the families and our players, and it's a very stressful time and a time of absence from your family, and we felt it was really important for them to have that opportunity and to come together as a family, as a group of players. For the reason you just mentioned, they haven't played together as a unit. Many of them played in various locations together, but not in St. Louis, and we just feel it's important for our club at pressure time, and this is when they can talk and talk over game situations while they're eating and relaxing.
One last thought. I'm putting you on the spot because we're on tape here. Detroit's playing right now. Poor Scotty Bowman's got 131 points. The only place to go is down if they ever lose a game. What about those Red Wings and his situation? Do you think they can be touched?
Well, they have a phenomenal situation, and they've had a great year, and I think it's been Scotty's best year. Their players have been on a mission since the day they lost in the finals last spring. And I know the feeling, and I know that he knows the feeling, coaching in Montreal previously, and in New York there was no other expectations after we went post to post in first place. There was no other acceptable solution to it than to win the Stanley Cup, and he has a good shot at it if he stays injury free, and I think that's the premise that we all have to work on today in the league, because it is so tight. If there's any major injuries, then it makes it that much more difficult.
That's excellent. Your Blues family's watching. What a great job you just did on Hockey Night in Canada. And we'll see, of course, Game 2 of the series at Maple Leaf Gardens, 7:30 Eastern tomorrow evening. Most in the country will watch the Blues and the Leafs. Viewers in Quebec, you get the Montreal Canadiens with that big win at Madison Square Garden. Game 2 at 7:30 ET. And Vancouver tries to get back at Colorado. That's at 9 ET, 6 o'clock Pacific, as we provide Games 2 of those series on Molson Hockey Night in Canada on CBC.
Well, if you've just joined us, you may be as surprised by this 1-0 Winnipeg lead as the fans are here at the Joe Louis Arena in Detroit. But at the end of the second period, we saw a flurry of offense from the Red Wings. Might this be an omen, Brian, of things to come in the third?
Well, I think that Nikolai Habibulin hopes not. You expect that the Red Wings defense is going to get a lot more involved in their offense. Winnipeg has got to do a better job when they get a hold of that puck in the defensive zone of getting it out. Yes, if they want to play that Kitty Barthersdorf style, it can be effective, but they have to be a little bit more disciplined.
The lone goal of the hockey game scored at 10:06 of the opening period by Alexei Zhamnov.
Well, it was all set up by Oleg Tverdovsky, who pinched down the Red Wings, too anxious to leave that zone. That left Zhamnov wide open. He had the whole net to put it up and over top of Chris Osgood.
Alexei Zhamnov back in the lineup for the first time since the 20th of March. At the other end, Nikolai Habibulin has been solid. Now, let's join Scott. He's standing by with Ed Olczyk.
Ed Olczyk, probably no one, with the exception of the 20 guys in that room, thought you might be sitting on an upset of the Wings after 2 periods of play in Game 1.
Well, I think we've played pretty much their game plan. They kind of stormed us there the last 3 or 4 minutes of the period, but you're going to have to weather a storm like that. They're one of the best teams in the National Hockey League without a doubt, and very well coached and very well disciplined, and that's why you need the big league goaltending. I think Nicky's played extremely well for us.
Are you playing the only way you can to win this game, and that is tight checking to protect the 1-0 lead?
You're not going to outgun these guys, that's for sure, and you have to be real patient in neutral zone, not be making any bad plays at the other team's blue line, and that's what we're trying to do. It may be a boring style, but that's the way we feel we have to try to compete against this team. It's going to be a tough battle. There's a period left, and there's lots of hockey to be played.
Well, many people doubted Winnipeg's ability to shut down the Red Wings, but they have so far. 1-0 they lead. Again, here's Scott. Game 1 of the Western Conference quarterfinal series, third period, Detroit and Winnipeg. Detroit a 6-5 favorite to win the Stanley Cup. The Winnipeg Jets were listed by the odds makers as a 60-1 choice. But the Winnipeg Jets hold a 1-0 lead with 20 minutes remaining. This is the first time that the Red Wings have failed to score a goal in the first 2 periods of any hockey game since they clinched a playoff berth back on the 24th of February with a 2-0 shutout of Tampa Bay. Drake lost control of the puck at the line. Here comes Fedorov. Fedorov trying to work his way through for Larionov, saved by Habibulin. Penalty coming up against Winnipeg.
Well, one of the things that Detroit has not done in this hockey game is be able to generate a lot of speed with that neutral zone. That's exactly what happened there with Fedorov and Larionov teaming up nicely. Eventually, Finley forced to pull down Larionov. That's probably what you would characterize as a good penalty, but all kinds of speed by Fedorov. There's the reach with the left arm. It's actually Fedorov that he pulls down. Another fine stop by Nikolai Habibulin.
Jeff Finley in the penalty box for a holding at the 26-second mark of the third period. You heard Eddie Olczyk talk about the Red Wings storming the Winnipeg net in the late stages of the second period. The Jets didn't want to start the third under more Red Wing pressure.
It's exactly the situation that they are in now. The Red Wing power play has been pretty much ineffective. It's interesting that Bowman starts his big guys, McCarty and Primo, down low. They're just putting a wall up in front of Habibulin.
Coffey's shot was blocked and the rebound cleared.
And Dave Manson is forcing both McCarty and Primo to pay a heavy price if they're going to stand there.
Here's Primo moving in. Primo back of the net. McCarty was driving hard to the net. Now to Coffey at the point. Back to Primo, to Coffey. Coffey slips it across to Lidstrom. Lidstrom looks towards the net, throws a shot towards the goal, and they bang at the rebound and put it up in the glass over the net. Now Dallas Drake gains control. He takes his time and dumps it softly down the ice.
The other thing that obviously the Red Wings are concentrating on is getting people in front of Habibulin and screening it. They're just dumping that puck into the crease area, hoping to win the battles.
A return pass intended for Kozlov, picked off by Zhamnov, and he fires at the length of the ice to again relieve the pressure with 57 seconds remaining in the penalty. The puck is stolen, fed back to the point. Tverdovsky flips it towards the net, and it's knocked down by Fedosov. The Winnipeg Jets change up on the penalty killing unit. Larionov working his way in for Kozlov. Kozlov looked out in front, couldn't find a man open. Now gets it to Larionov, back to the line. He takes a shot through traffic. That goes off a skate. At the other point, Konstantinov looking for Larionov in the corner. It was beyond his reach. He gets it back to the line now to Fedosov, over to Konstantinov. He shoots, saved by Happy. Look, Bullen. The puck is loose for a moment, but very quickly the glove hand came out to cover it up with 18 seconds left on the Red Wing power play. Again, let's go to Ron McLean. And here, Ron, it's also a one-game margin. Nikolai Habibulin has kept the Red Wings at bay so far, and it's also a one-goal game in the opening contest of the Chicago-Calgary series. At the line, this is Ramsey. He dumps it in. Picked up there by Brown. Brown shoots through traffic, and that goes wide. Draper gets it in the corner. Draper back to Brown. To the point. Ramsey with the shot right on. The loose puck at the side of the net. They score!
Look at the work down low by both Taylor and Draper. They win that battle for the loose puck. Craig Muni cannot keep them away. And somehow that puck is chipped underneath Nikolai Habibulin. It's going to go under one leg and just dribble across the line. Huge goal by the Red Wings. Look at Taylor. He's set up in front. He provides the screen. Muni searching for the loose puck, cannot locate it, and Draper just gets enough of that puck to get it across the line. One more look. Our net cam, you see Habibulin a split second late, getting down to cover that puck.
Chris Draper, originally a draft choice of the Winnipeg Jets, gets the goal that ties it. And we have the Octopus on the playing surface to celebrate a Red Wing goal. They threw 3 of them on the ice during the playing of the national anthem. But this is the first chance the Red Wing fans have had to throw an Octopus on the ice to celebrate a Detroit goal.
You know, you often wonder if perhaps the octopi coming onto the ice after a Red Wing goal can diffuse a little bit of that momentum, right? I'm not so sure that it works to their advantage all the time.
Well, the firm in Detroit that supplies the Octopus is planning on bringing in about 6,000 pounds, and Red Wing fans will bring them to the Joe Louis Arena and fire them out on the ice. I don't think I'd want to be sitting next to the guy who's brought an octopus to the game.
Apparently the odor is quite strong.
So the Red Wings get on even terms. Draper from Taylor and Ramsey at 2:27, just as the Winnipeg penalty had expired. Norm McIver faces it down in his own zone. McIver plays it around to the other side to Korolev, and Korolev flips it down the ice. Ramsey goes back after it. And the goal by Draper has inspired the crowd here at the Joe Louis Arena. Winnipeg sitting back at its heels for much of the last half of the second period, and here early in the third, here come the Red Wings again. Taylor was checked by Manson as he tried to work his way through. Zhamnov gets to the line. He's stopped there by Fedosov. Lead pass to Larionov. Long shot kicked out. The big rebound. Manson had problems clearing, and finally it's knocked out to center ice. This will be a delayed offside call as the Winnipeg Jets pick it up and fire at the length of the ice. And now this will be an icing call against Winnipeg.
You know, the strength of this Detroit club all year has been that incredible balance, and then once again get production from a line you would not expect them to.
Well, the fans here at the Joe Louis Arena have certainly come alive early in the third period on the tying goal by Chris Draper.
Good strong work down low by Draper. They win the battle. Craig Muni can't fend him off, and he just sneaks it over the line.
Drake along the boards is able to knock it down the ice. Paul Coffey goes back after it. He dodges a check, moves it ahead to Yzerman. Yzerman for Primo. Primo straightened up by Dave Manson. The fans react, thinking there should have been a penalty call, but there was no whistle. Here comes Dallas Drake. Drake is knocked off the puck. He goes down, winds up on top of it. Janney comes in to try and dig it out, but the whistle is gone.
Terrific job by the Winnipeg Jets to get that puck down low, and certainly they need to spend an awful lot more time in that Detroit zone. It's a much different game now all of a sudden.
One thing Terry Simpson spoke about prior to this game, he said we don't want to play a lot of the game on our side of the center line, and in the final 10 minutes of the second period and to start the third, most of the play has been in Winnipeg territory.
A little bit of Dave Manson's handiwork. He takes Primo down effectively. You see a little peek by Manson, staring directly into the eyes of Andy Van Hellemond, and Primo does not get the call he was looking for.
Eastwood against Fedorov in the face-off circle. Konstantinov had moved in too quickly, and Fedorov is now being waved out. Larionov takes the draw back to the line to Tverdovsky, and his shot was blocked as Fedorov skates it up ice for the Red Wings. Fedorov trying to go wide, throws it out front for Fedosov. He scores!
Is going to lose Slava Fetisov. Look at Eastwood. He gets focused on the puck. Fetisov sneaks right down the middle of the ice, takes the pass. Fedorov does a nice job of sending it back out the short side, but look at the time and the space Fetisov has. He just slips it right between the legs of Harvey Bullen. Cannot afford to miss your assignments in the defensive zone.
Well, the veteran defenseman jumped up into the play, and the Red Wings have the lead as he made a nice move on Nikolai Habibulin at 4:06. You got a feeling late in the second period that the Red Wings were taking control of the hockey game after a slow start, and indeed they have.
I don't like the chances of any team trying to protect a one-goal lead in periods against this club. You have to get something generated offensively, especially against a club whose defense like to jump up into the play. There will be opportunities for Winnipeg, but you have to be willing to try and take advantage of it.
Fedorov draws the lone assist on the goal at the 4:06 mark. Detroit has outshot Winnipeg by a 7-0 margin so far in this third period. Sidesteps Maltby, who was in forechecking for the Red Wings. Yzerman in front. Ramsey over to Johnson. He scores!
Once again, it's a defenseman sliding down. Mike Ramsey is not picked up. This time it's Eddie Olchuk's man. Ramsey comes right down the center of the ice. A nice little dish off at the last second by Ramsey. Craig Johnson has a wide open net to slip it in behind Abby Bullen. Look at that feed by Yzerman. Threads the needle. Ramsey moves in, and actually I think he just lost control of that puck. Fortunate, it goes right onto the stick of Johnson, and a pretty easy conversion for him.
3 quick goals by the Red Wings to start the third period, and they now lead it by a 3-1 score.
Well, I think if you had told anybody that the Red Wings would only get goals from Johnson, Fetisov, Tim Taylor, that Winnipeg would probably have a pretty good chance of winning this hockey game. But again, it just points out the fact that this is such a well-balanced club. And on any given night, any one of these young men can step forward and make the contribution necessary to win a hockey game.
Now the Winnipeg Jets have not been able to do a thing so far in this third period. 3 goals in 2 minutes and 21 seconds for the Red Wings. Johnson is first of the playoffs. Ramsey and Yzerman drawing the assists.
Terry Simpson calls the timeout, brings his guys over to the bench in an effort to regroup, because right now Winnipeg is just standing around and watching. They seem very confused by what Detroit is throwing at them.
In one of their 62 wins this year, the Red Wings limited the opposition to just 8 shots. The Winnipeg Jets so far tonight have managed just 11 shots. Primo is spun around at center ice. Yzerman picks up the puck, dodges a check from Tkachuk. Yzerman flips it high into Winnipeg territory, and that almost fooled Habby Bullen. A bouncing puck that almost caught him by surprise. .14:36 remaining in the third. Here's Yzerman. Took a look out front for McCarty. McCarty was being covered. Yzerman tries to feed it back to the point, gets a return pass. He leaves it in the corner for McCarty. Back to Yzerman. Yzerman trying to work in. Checked there by Norm McIver. Drake can't go anywhere with it. It's hammered back in by Primo, but Primo was offside as he touched it. Play just underway. The Winnipeg Jets trailing by 2. Korolev trying to work his way through. He's taken off the puck. Chris Draper tried to move it ahead, races up after it himself. Now he goes after the loose puck. In front of the net is Taylor. The shot and the rebound, and that's picked up by Winnipeg. The Jets start back, led by Tverdovsky. Cut off there by Ramsey. The puck slides into Red Wing territory. Taylor settles it down for Detroit. He pushes it ahead to Larionov. He fires it down the ice, goes into forecheck against Craig Muni, who leaves it for Tverdovsky in the corner. Fedorov came charging up on Tverdovsky with a hit, knocked his helmet off. Konstantinov goes back after it, leaves it there for Fedosov, who in turn gives it to Kozlov. He dodges a check as he weaves his way through the neutral zone. A return pass, Larionov to Fedorov, looking in front for Kozlov, and it's gloved and cut off by Habby Bullen.
I tell you what, that Taylor line for the Detroit Red Wings has really given this club a big lift. More than any other offensive line, they are flying through the neutral zone. They're also managing to get in on that Winnipeg defense, apply the pressure, and apply the body. Appears that the Jets are really back on their heels. Those defense forced to play with their heads up. They're unable to complete any passes as they work it out of the defensive zone, and that's the biggest reason, really, why they're unable to generate any offense.
Well, the Jets have not registered a shot on goal in this third period, and the 10 shots by the Red Wings have resulted in 3 goals. Here's another shot by Larionov that is steered aside. Konstantinov bumps with Shannon. They continue to fight for the puck along the boards. Shannon knocks Konstantinov down, and that's going to result in a penalty call against Winnipeg. So trailing by 2, the Jets will be shorthanded with 12:51 left in the third. It's the same score here. Konstantinov took a cross-check from Shannon. They're checking his teeth at the Red Wing bench as he went into the glass. And the dasher, there's the shot by Shannon to the back of Konstantinov. That is more, I think, of a retaliation by Shannon after the earlier hit by Konstantinov.
Well, that's true, but I'll tell you what, given the fact that he did go face first into the boards, I think Darren Shannon's very fortunate that Andy Van Hellemond only nailed him with a 2-minute minor penalty. Konstantinov, pretty tough character. I don't think he'll be out for long.
Primo and Manson battle in the corner. Now Muni goes in to help out. He flips it along the boards for Dallas Drake. Drake tried to reverse it under pressure. The Red Wings are all over the Jets in their own zone, leading by a score of 3-0 and on the power play. Drake finally gets an opening and he clears.
Certainly a much different feeling in this building right now. You can almost sense the Red Wing confidence soaring.
12-17 remaining in the period. 1:24 in the penalty. Kachuk for Manson. He chops it along the boards. Dallas Drake will try and get it out. Gets another opportunity, and he does clear. Here's Kachuk on a breakaway. Kachuk going in. Saved by Osgood. Paul Coffey did a good job of coming back, frustrating Kachuk. He went right in on Osgood, who made the save. Here's the shot by Coffey. He scores!
Oh, what a rocket by Paul Coffey. No chance whatsoever by Happy Bullen. Coffey made the back-checking play on Keith Kachuk, and Kachuk was irate. Here's the play, the partial breakaway by Kachuk. Watch Kachuk's reaction. He's looking for the call from Van Hellemond. Now Coffey just follows up onto the play with nobody back-checking right from the slot. He just drills it right up into the top corner. What a shot by Coffey. You cannot give Paul Coffey that much time in the slot or he's going to kill you.
The three-time Norris Trophy winner has given the Red Wings a 4-1 lead. 4 consecutive goals in this third period. The last by Coffey on the power play. Yzerman and Primo draw the assist. The Red Wings have it again. Maltby with a shot that goes wide. Jamnov flips it around the boards. Rouse tried to cut off the clearing attempt, couldn't get there in time. Ramsey flips it down into Winnipeg territory. It's chopped right back up. Ramsey has it again. Well, the Red Wings in this third period have really taken control, and Paul Coffey doing a good job. Here's a giveaway and a shot fired just wide by Larionov. Coffey doing a great job of getting back on Keith Kachuk, who had a partial breakaway, and then going the other way to score the power play goal. Coffey, of course, in the 85 season set a record for points by defensemen with the Edmonton Oilers. 12 goals and 25 assists for 37 points. And he has his first goal of the 1996 playoff round.
What was it Paul Coffey said the other day, that he honestly does believe that he's skating better now than at any time in his career. But you see, he gets all of that shot. He just blew it great pass, Happy Bullen, before Nikolai lifted that left arm. It was already in the net behind him.
I spoke to Paul and I asked him if he was still having fun playing the game, and he said that's the most important feature. He is enjoying it, having fun. And I talked about his skating, and I said, do you really think you might be a little faster than you used to be? He says, you know, I think I am. And that's a scary thought.
So many people have tried to analyze that stride of Coffey, but
Fedosov with a long shot. Happy Bullen has it with Fedorov right there looking for a loose puck. Boy, apart from that partial breakaway shorthanded by Keith Kachuk, the ice has been tilted in this third period.
No question. Actually, it's been tilted the whole second half of this hockey game. They said that Happy Bullen was under siege at the end of the second period. That has continued throughout the third. You just sense that the Red Wings, there's nobody holding them up. Their forecheckers are getting in on that Winnipeg defense, and the defense don't have time to make any kind of direct passes. As a result, they really don't get anything going as they leave the defensive zone. As soon as the puck gets out of the blue line, it's flipped back in, and they got 2 forecheckers applying all kinds of pressure on the puck.
Well, against the Red Wings, one thing you don't want to be forced to do is open it up, and that's the position the Jets find themselves in now. Eastwood races after the loose puck. Fedosov does a good job of getting back to hold him up. Clearing attempt blocked by Stapleton. Eastwood is knocked down behind the goal. The puck comes out front and is dumped down the ice as McIver retreats after it, being watched by Fedorov. For Stapleton, Larionov watching him closely. Now Doan comes out, takes a long pass on the right side. His shot is high off the glass. It takes a strange hop and comes right out in front of the Red Wing goal. There have been a couple of unusual bounces in tonight's hockey game. Rink wide pass for McCarty. He overskated, but is able to stop, get it back, and fire it in.
You know, it's just a world of difference. You see the Red Wings go back into their zone to get a hold of the puck. The defense have all kinds of time. They make one or two good passes, and they are away to the races through the neutral zone, attacking the Winnipeg Jets with a lot of speed.
Again, this will be an icing call by Winnipeg. This wasn't a bad strategy when they were leading 1-0, but right now it is working against them because they have to generate some offense, and the Red Wings simply aren't giving them a chance.
Well, body language speaks volumes in a hockey game, and you look at those Winnipeg players, got a number of guys hanging their heads. They skate back for the face-off in the defensive zone. Clearly they are bewildered, trying to figure out what they got to do to get something going. The Red Wings, who have prided themselves on their defensive record all season long, have just absolutely shut them down.
Well, the transition game is such a big feature of the Red Wing play. We've talked about it before, and in this third period, it has really come to the fore.
You know, there's two sides of the coin to the transition game, and one of the things that the Red Wings do an exceptional job of, when the puck turns over and the other team jumps into the offense, they all recognize their assignments pretty quickly, and that is one of the things that Winnipeg, perhaps an area that they really need to improve on, especially against, you know, a high potent offense like the Detroit Red Wings. Look at a Nicholas Lidstrom. He hasn't really even been a factor in this game, and you know that he's a tremendously skilled offensive defenseman as well. But he's taking care of his own end of the ice.
9:18 remaining. Game 2 in this series will take place here at the Joe Louis Arena on Friday night. Here's a chance for Winnipeg. Down the straight with a shot that's high off the glass. Tkachuk is bodied in the corner. The puck picked up by Coffey. He tried to hit Primo in full flight at the blue line. It was cut off there by Winnipeg. And now the Jets make a change as Coffey sets up again. And here he comes, working his way out of the zone. He was looking for Yzerman, missed him with the pass. Now Yzerman gets it. Yzerman dumped it in, and the Red Wings make a change. 8:44 remaining in the third. It's 4-1. Red Wings leading after trailing 1-0 through 40 minutes. In the third, it's been all Detroit. Chris Draper started the rally for the Red Wings. He's out there now and going after the loose puck. Abby Bullen will beat him to it, playing it to the other side to Korolev. He simply flips it down the ice. Osgood comes out of his net to stop it there for Ramsey. He takes a body check from Olczyk, but Taylor picks up the puck. Forwards are doing a good job of coming back and picking up their men and winning the battles in the race for the loose pucks in their own zone.
It's amazing how the strategy changes according to the score. See a lot more disciplined group of Detroit forwards in the last minute and a half or so. Now they're starting to peel back and bottle up that neutral zone.
Kozlov now flips it high. Larionov picks it out of the air and knocks it out to center ice. Pass is intercepted by Larionov. He throws it back to his own line as the Red Wings regroup under the direction of Kozlov. He dodges a check. Plays it ahead to Fedorov. Fedorov puts on a move. Tried to go cross ice. It skipped away from Fedosov. Knocked down the ice by Winnipeg, but Ian Fraser can't go anywhere with it as the Red Wings start back. Pass intercepted. McIver will simply flip it into Red Wing territory, and back after it goes Fedosov. 7:07 remaining in the third. The Red Wings leading by a score of 4-1. Pass cut off by Eastwood. He got it over to Shannon. Shannon with a backhand shot that is played to the corner by Osgood. Manson can't do anything with it, and the Red Wings start away. Here's Kozlov into the center ice area. He was straightened up there by Doan. The pass too far for Eastwood as Coffey comes back to pick it up.
You know, Detroit does such a good job of quickly getting that puck out of the defensive zone. Really, the Winnipeg defensemen have been denied the opportunity to even get up and involved in the play. You know, Manson and Newman, the guys that you would expect, Tverdovsky, to be joining the rush, don't even have time to get up there.
Well, the Red Wings may have been a little tight in the opening period, but they certainly have not been in this third. harbinger of things to come in the last half of the second period. They were storming the Winnipeg net. Ed Olczyk talked about it, and the storm, the raid, has continued in the third and has produced 4 goals and a 4-1 lead with 6:10 left. And with 6:03 remaining here at the Joe Louis, it's 4-1 for the Red Wings. Yzerman in the corner. He and Primo battling for the puck. Tkachuk comes in for Winnipeg, and he skates away with it. Drake, lead pass, trying to get it back to Tkachuk. He's pulled down by McCarty, and this is going to result in a Red Wing penalty with 5:45 remaining in the third period.
Well, it's the first interference call of the hockey game. Van Hellemond is going to nail McCarty for pulling down Keith Tkachuk. Could have been a hooking call either way. Jets get an opportunity on the power play, but you talk about some of the things that have worked extremely well for the Red Wings, and I would have to give an awful lot of credit to this line of McCarty. There you see him pulling down Tkachuk, but McCarty, Yzerman, and Primo have done a terrific job on Keith Tkachuk, Craig Janney. You know, they really haven't been able to generate an awful lot of offense.
An interference call against McCarty, his second penalty of the game, but his assignment tonight has been to look after the Winnipeg Jets' 50-goal scorer, Keith Tkachuk, and he's done a pretty effective job.
Yep, the big body of McCarty has been very effective, and of course, their assignment, both him and Primo have been taking a few runs every once in a while and just kind of sending a not so subtle message that they're going to have to play with their heads up. They've been very effective. I can't recall the last time Craig Janney has been able to control the puck down low in this hockey game, and that's his, you know, his bread and butter.
Fedorov is in forechecking on the power play. He gets a chance. Backhand shot goes wide. Doug Brown feeds it back to the line. Lidstrom will simply fire it to the opposite corner. McIver picks it up there, and the Winnipeg Jets simply can't even set up and move the puck out of their own zone. The Red Wings do it for them.
Red Wings just look so poised at this point in the hockey game, and clearly the Jets are a frustrated bunch.
Well, since they lost the Stanley Cup final to New Jersey last year, their focus has been on improving team defense, and it's obvious that they have made the change. From the point, McIver with a shot, and Osgood comes out of the net to make the save with Korolev standing there looking for a rebound. That was only the second shot this period by the Winnipeg Jets. They have 13 in total. I mentioned that the Red Wings this year had limited the opposition to 8 shots in one game, and that was on October 27th against Calgary. Here's Coffey in front, and it's fired just wide. Beautiful setup as Coffey got it to Draper, and he fired it wide. Draper knocks it to the corner and goes after Newman, forcing him to flip the puck to Janney, and Janney starts the attack for Winnipeg with 4:22 remaining in the period. Tkachuk was stopped at the line as Janney tried to send him between the defensemen. Long shot by Zhamnov, handled easily, and Ramsey backhands it out to center ice. Mike Ramsey has indicated that after the playoffs this year, he's going to make a decision, but is leaning towards retirement.
He certainly had a pretty darn good career, Mike Ramsey. Still very effective on the blue line. This is Ramsey's 15th playoff year, his 18th season overall in the NHL.
Well, the Red Wings are back at full strength as the Winnipeg Jets' Dave Manson chases it down in his own zone. 3:34 remaining. Here's Manson flipping it high, and every time the Jets go after a puck in Red Wing territory, they're there to smother them. Shannon fires it in. Back after it goes Konstantinov. May have to have some dental work tomorrow, but he's going to finish tonight's hockey game. Fetisov along the boards, banking it up to the line, cut off there by Manson. Here's Shannon in control. He dumps it back to the net. Eastwood is tied up by Konstantinov. Doan trying to work out. Maltby goes after the loose puck. And Maltby comes away with it. He plays it around to the other side. Taylor is cut off. Here's a shot by Eastwood from a sharp angle that ricochets off the boards back to the line. McIver keeps it in. Shannon back of the net. Checked by Konstantinov. Now Manson from the point. Lets a shot go that's blocked. Taylor races after it. McIver trying to get back to slow him up, and then Manson comes back to help out and takes the puck away from him.
Tell you what, I am very impressed by the work of the Red Wings in that defensive zone. They don't miss too many checks.
2:18 remaining. Here's Chris King getting set and firing it wide. From the other point, Craig Muni for Ian Fraser. Fraser leaves it in the corner for Muni to Chris King. King is taken in against the boards. Puck comes free, and Larionov sends it rink wide. Fedorov now gets it back to Larionov. Larionov spun around by Stapleton, still is able to play the puck back, but it comes out across the blue line. Now flipped in for Stapleton. He races into the corner after it. Rouse is after him. Fedorov tried to clear, cut off by Craig Muni. Loose at the side of the net. Fraser can't pick it up, but he continues battling in the corner. King steps into Rouse. Now the Red Wings start back. Kozlov takes a touch pass and then fires it deep as the Red Wings make a change with 1:30 remaining.
It's just such purpose whenever they handle that puck in the defensive zone. They're not having an awful lot of difficulty exiting their end of the rink.
Craig Janney works his way to the line. Tried to get it across to Tkachuk, but Tkachuk was well covered. Now Lidstrom flips it up to Yzerman. Manson read that one, knocking the puck back into Red Wing territory. Janney goes in against the boards with Lidstrom. The puck comes free, and it's cleared by the Red Wings as we move into the final minute of play, as the Detroit Red Wings are going to win this opener after trailing through 40 minutes 1-0. But 4 goals in the third period will send the Red Wings on to their first victory of the playoff year. Loose puck in front of the net. Yzerman couldn't get a shot away. Primo now centers it, and it slides off Yzerman to the other corner. Picked up there by Dallas Drake. McCarty's on him quickly. The puck between skates with 30 seconds remaining in the third period. Red Wings trying to dig it out. Keith Tkachuk comes up with it, and Tkachuk, in attempting to clear, put it out of play with 19.8 seconds remaining. But this has been a frustrating third period for the Winnipeg Jets.
Well, I think it's been a dominant performance by the Red Wings, almost from the midpoint of the second period. And it really all started with Darren McCarty and Keith Primo. They started laying the body on. It really seemed to put the Jets back on their heels a little bit. And then all of a sudden, the players who perhaps you would not expect to produce offensively for the Red Wings came through in a big way. It's been textbook protection of a lead by this club.
3 goals in 2:21. Started off with Chris Draper's tying goal, and then Fedosov and Johnson scored. Coffey on the power play. Friday night, we'll be back at the Joe Louis Arena. Game 2 of this series. Game 3 at the Winnipeg Arena on Sunday afternoon. Game 4 in Winnipeg on Tuesday. Well, Scotty Bowman at the start of our telecast tonight talked about the necessity of winning 16 games to win the Stanley Cup. And in the Red Wing dressing room, I'm sure they posted the number 15 now.
You know what? We talked about before the game the fact that it's been pretty much business as usual for this club. Very even keel. They haven't gotten real excited about the winning streak. The fact that they posted 62 wins, that's not a big deal for them either. They've got their eyes set firmly on the Stanley Cup, and they did not panic. Down by a goal, they started to take control of this hockey game. And you just sensed that they were a confident bunch and that they thought it was just a matter of time before they got back in the game.
The 4 goals by the Red Wings in this third period came within a span of 5 minutes and 40 seconds as they skate to a 4-1 opening game victory over the Winnipeg Jets. Game 2 Friday.